Good morning and welcome to the Chapter 6 day before the test review. Let's begin. For the first question, I would like you to graph the solution set for the following inequality. So let's go like this. X plus 2y is greater than or equal to 12. Okay. Please take a moment. Maybe we'll do the first one together and then you can try the other ones on your own. Okay. The first step to these questions is to get the equation into y equals mx plus b form. Slope-intercept form. So basically we have to get the y by itself. So to get the y by itself, I'm going to minus 4x from both sides. I'll get 2y is greater than or equal to negative 4x plus 12. Divide both sides, or divide everything by 2. Y is greater than or equal to negative 2x plus 6. Step 1 is to get into y equals mx plus b form. Step 2 is to graph it. Okay, you graph it by first plotting the y-intercept. The y-intercept is right here, is at 6. Oops, excuse me. The y-intercept is at 6. Then the slope. The slope is negative 2 over 1. So a rise of negative 2, or sorry, rise of negative 2, down 1, 2 over 1. And then step 3 there, just connect the dots. Connect those two dots, and it's graphed. Okay. Step 3 is to do your test point. Again, you can test with any number that's not on the line. The easiest number is right here at 0 and 0. So to do that, I plug in 0 for x and 0 for y. So I will get 0 is greater than or equal to negative 2 times 0 plus 6. Negative 2 times 0 is obviously 0. 0 is greater than or equal to 6. Is 0 greater than 6? No, it's not. Okay? So this was false. This test failed. Okay? If the test fails, that means that because this point was below the line and the test failed, that means that everything below that line also fails. So if the test fails, we go to the opposite side of the line, we color in that solution set, and we're finished. Okay? So now let's get you to try one on your own. Let's go 7y minus 3x is less than or equal to 21. Okay? Give this one a try, please. I'll give you a couple minutes to try it yourselves. All right, I'm going to start working it out slowly. Again, step 1 is to get the y by itself. Add 3x to both sides. I will get 7y is less than or equal to 3x plus 21. Divide everything by 7. Y is less than or equal to 3x over 7 plus 3. Now we're going to plot our y-intercept, which is at 3. Going to do our slope, which is 3 over 7. Rise of 3, 1, 2, 3. Run of 7, over to 7. Again, you'll have graph paper on the exam. You don't have to sort of fake it like I am here. Connect your dots. Next step, perform your test. My test, I'm going to use 0 and 0 again. Put a 0 in for x, a 0 in for y will leave me with 0 is less than 3. Is 0 less than 3? Yes, it is. This is true. So if 0 is less than 3, and that test number is right there, and this was true, then we get to shade everything below the line. So who's, just a quick show of hands, whose graph and solution set looked like that? Okay, awesome. Now let's try one that has 2 equations, okay? We'll do the first one together. Okay. The equations are 4x plus 3y is greater than 0, and y is less than, let's make this less than or equal to, 1 over 2x minus 5. So the first step is to graph. Pick one of the lines and graph it. So I'll start with the first one here. I gotta get the y by itself, so I minus 4x from both sides. 3y is greater than negative 4x plus, you can put the plus 0 if you want, you don't have to. Divide both sides by 3. So I've got y is greater than negative 4x over 3 plus 0. Now, graph that line. My y-intercept is 0. My slope is negative 4 over 3, so down 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, 2, 3. Connect your dots. Now we have to do our test. Now, the test in this case, normally we've been using 0 and 0, but 0 and 0 is right on our line this time, right? Oh, this is a mistake, I'm sorry. This one was not equal to, right? This was just greater than, so this should actually be a dashed line. I apologize. If it doesn't say equal to, it's just a dashed line. Now, we can't use 0 and 0 as our test point because that is right on the graph, on the line. So we have to pick a different test point. Again, it doesn't really matter what you pick. I'm going to choose 5 and 1. That's going to be my test point. Okay. So I put a 1 in for x and a 5 in for y. 5 is greater than negative 4 over 3. Is 5 greater than negative 4 over 3? Yes, it is. So that means this was true. This test was above the line, so that means that everything above this line gets shaded in. Okay, now we do our second equation. I'll switch to blue for this one. The y is already by itself here, so now we just have to plot it. The y-intercept is -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The slope is 1/2, so rise of 1, run of 1, 2. This one is less than or equal to, so we draw a solid line, like so. Let's pretend I hit the dots there. Now we do our test. This time, we can use 0 and 0 if we want, right? We can use anything that's not on this blue line. So I'm going to use 0 and 0. Put a 0 in for x, 0 in for y. I get 0 is less than -5. Is 0 less than -5? No, 0 is not less than -5. -5 is less than 0. So this is false. 0 is not less than -5. This test point was above the line, right? So then we have to shade everything that is below the blue line. And then the answer is, well, this is what your graph would look like. If you were asked for possible answers, it would say determine 2 valid solutions. You would grab anything in the overlapped region. So anything where there's yellow and there's green, which would be right here. Anything in there is an overlap. So any of those solutions will work for both equations. Okay? Now let's get you to try one of those on your own. All right, take a few minutes, graph the first line, find the solution set, graph the second line, find the solution set, and look for any overlap. Okay? Come back in about 2 or 3 minutes. All right, I'm going to start working it out. So the first one, I have to get the y by itself, minus x from both sides. Y is greater than negative x plus 4. Now I can graph that. My y-intercept is 4. My slope is negative 1 over 1, so down 1 over 1. This is just greater than, right? It's not equal to. So I draw a dashed line through there. Now I do my test. My test, I'm going to use 0 and 0. Zero is greater than 4. Is 0 greater than 4? No, it's not. So I am going to shade, this was false, so I'm going to shade the opposite side, which is above. Okay? Second equation, I'll use blue. It's already, the y is already by itself. This equation is just y is less than negative 2. Okay? When you have an equation where it's just the y by itself and there's no x, what that means is it's just going to make a horizontal line at negative 2, because no matter what x is, y is going to be negative 2. Okay? Now I do my test. I can put 0 and 0 as my test again for this. Put a 0 in for y. 0 is less than or equal to negative 2. Is that true? No, it's not. That's false. So I cannot shade above the line. I would have to shade below the line. So our only overlap on this one is actually where? Just right here. Okay? And obviously it would extend if our graph was bigger, but this would be our only area of overlap. Is this what our graphs look like? Hopefully. Okay. All right, let's try this one. This is from your review. And again, don't feel like you have to write down the entire question, but make sure you're paying attention to the explanation. It says, how would you graph the solution set for the inequality? Oh, it's missing the sign there. I don't know why that didn't come through. I don't have the review up. We'll just put a line here. So this should say y plus 5x is less than 2. Okay. Again, I don't know why the inequality sign didn't show up when I transferred over here. It obviously shows up on your test. So let's pretend it says y plus 5x is less than 2. So the first thing you'd want to do, well, here's what I would do. If I were doing this question and any multiple choice question in math, I want to cross out answers that I know are wrong. The first thing that I see is that it is a less than sign. It's not less than or equal to, it's just less than. So that means with less than, I'm going to have a dashed line, right? Because it's not equal to. So anything that says a solid line cannot be the answer. So right away, I know it has to be A or it has to be D. So now instead of a 1 in 4 shot of getting it right, I've got a 1 in 2 shot. So I take my equation, y plus 5x is less than 2, and minus 5x from both sides to get the y by itself. Y is less than negative 5x plus 2. Okay, I draw my line. My y-intercept's at 2. My equation, my slope is negative 5 over 1. Down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1. And then the difference between A and D is it wants to know if I'm shading above the line up here or below the line down here. Well, I could figure that out by doing my test. Let's do our test with 0 and 0. If I put a 0 in for x and a 0 in for y, I'm going to get 0 is less than 2. Is 0 less than 2? Yes, it is. So that means that this is true, which means I get to shade everything below the line. I go up here, draw a dashed boundary line and shade below the line. D is my correct answer. Okay. Next. Number 12 here from the review says, oh, I really wish these equations would have shown up. 5y plus 3x is greater than or equal to 0. So it has given us, it's given us the graph this time, right? It wants to know basically which side should we shade? Should we shade above the line or should we shade below the line? So we do that by doing a test. I can't pick 0 and 0 this time because it's on the graph. So I pick a different one. Why don't I pick x is 5 and y is 0. I'm going to do my test right here. 5 and 0. So I put a 0 in for y and a 5 in for x. 5 times 0 is 0. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 is greater than or equal to 0. Is 15 greater than 0? Yes, it is. So that means that I can shade. This was true. 15 is greater than 0. This was below the line, so that means I get to shade everything below the line. Okay? Let's try this one here. This will be our last one. Again, don't write down the entire question, but make sure you're paying attention because there is one like this on the test. It says, Gordon's favorite activities are going to the movies and skating with friends. He budgets himself no more than $180 a month for entertainment and transportation. Movie admission is $12 per movie and skating costs $10 each time. A student bus pass for the movie for the month costs $50. Question A, or step A, asks us to define the variables and write a linear inequality to represent this situation. B, let's do A first. So we have to define the variables. We will call X movies, because it's $12 per movie, and Y will be skating. Now we have to build our equation. We know that he goes, every time he goes to a movie, it's $12 a movie, so 12x plus the skating costs $10, 10y, plus he also has to pay for a bus pass for the month, which is $50. So we have to work that into our equation. Plus 50.
Could you also get the same answer if you had done 12y and 10x?
Like if you just define them as other, you said that
Like if you had done 12y and 10x, would that still be
12y, but did you call y, you called y movies?
Yeah.
Then it should be fine, yeah. We should get the same answer. Okay. So $50 for the bus pass. And his total, he says he can spend no more than $180 a month. That's the most money he's got. So his total budget has to be less than or equal to $180. Now we have to, so we've defined the variables and written the equation. Now we have to graph it. To graph it, we need to get it into y equals mx plus b form. Okay? So I would minus 50 from both sides first. 12x plus 10y is less than or equal to $130. Then I would move the x, minus 12x from both sides. 10y is less than or equal to negative 12x plus 130. Sorry, I'm running out of room. I'll move over here. I divide both sides by 10. I get y is less than or equal to negative 12 over 10 will simplify to negative 6x over 5 plus 13. So here we have our equation. Now it wants us to graph that, okay? So I'm going to go to the next slide. I'll write down the equation. Was it negative 6 over 5? Yep. Negative 6x over 5 plus 13. To graph that, I go to 13. It's my y-intercept. My slope is negative 6 over 5, so down 6 over 5. Again, much easier when you have an actual graph to work with. Connect those dots. Now I have to do my test. For my test, what's the easiest point? 0 and 0. So I need to figure out if I have to shade above this line or below it. 0 in for x, 0 in for y. I end up with 0 is less than or equal to 13. Is that true? Yes, it is. So I shade below the line. That's my solution set. Now the final thing that the question is asking us is, what is a combination of activities? Well, the one on the test is asking for just what's a realistic combination of activities? So you'd go here. We know that X is movies and Y is skating. Okay? So we are looking for what's a realistic combination of activities that he can afford. So if I had a graph, it would be easier to read. But it looks like I could go to about 5 movies and 2 skating, for example. Or he could do 3 movies and 3 skating. Anything that falls below the graph in that solution set would be realistic answers. And again, it would be much easier to pick out those answers if we had the actual graph on there. Okay? All right, that brings us to the end of the review. Good luck on your Chapter 6 exam. Thank you. Have a good day.